Everyone, it's my pleasure to call to order this January 7th, 2026 meeting of the James City County Planning Commission. Ms. Istenis, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Haskins.
Present.
Dr. Haskins is an at-large member. Dr. Albin. Mr. Maye.
Here.
Mr. Maye represents the Powhatan District. Mr. Everson.
Here.
Mr. Everson represents the Stonehouse District. Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Mr. Rogers represents the Berkeley District. Mr. Polster.
Here.
Mr. Polster represents the Jamestown District. Mr. Haldeman.
Here.
Mr. Haldeman is an at-large member and will be presiding over this meeting as chair of the commission. I'm Susan Istenis. I'm the director of planning for the county. It's my pleasure to serve as secretary to the commission. Sitting to my left is Liz Parman, deputy county attorney. Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We now have time for public comment. This is an opportunity for citizens to address the Planning Commission on any subject not subject to a public hearing tonight. I don't have any speaker cards. Would anybody like to address the commission at this time? Thank you very much. Reports to the Commission, Development Review Committee.
The Development Review Committee met at 4 p.m. on 17 December 2025. The committee members present were Jack Haldeman, Steve Rogers, Frank Polster. Staff members present were Allison Jacora, Planner 3, Hannah Honeycutt, Ms. Barbara Knoll, Supervisor for Stonehouse, the applicant, Mr. Chase Grogg, Land Tech Resources, and John Hill from Thumbprint. Number C250045, 4451, and 4420 Cedar Point Lane, rezoning and special use permit. The applicant has requested that the item be placed on the Development Review Committee agenda in order to discuss the project and seek input and questions from the DRC members. No action was required by the DRC. The project includes the re-subdivision of 2 parcels to create a total of 5 lots. The currently vacant land lot 1 will gain a flagpole for frontage access on Cedar Point Lane and will be developed as a by-right single-family home. The 2 existing dwellings will be platted on their own individual lots, lots 2 and 3. And on lot 3, the applicant proposes to convert the dwelling into a tourist home, which would require a special use permit. Lot 2 is planned as the applicant's residence. The remaining approximately 10.6 acres of undeveloped area will be divided into 2 parcels, lots 4 and 5. Lot 4 is proposed to operate as a glamping campground with 10 small cabins. The campground use would require an SUP. Lot 5 is proposed to operate an RV and boat storage, which would require a rezoning to the M1 Limited Business Industrial Zoning District. DRC comments were on the potential impacts on the 3 adjacent residents, including the short-term rental in Lot 3, street light, spillage, noise abatement, and adequate buffering. There was one concern about where the BMP outfall would drain into, the impact on 2 degraded streams beds and on the Barlow Mill Pond sub-watershed of the Skiminoke Water Creek. And that concludes my...
One thing here, I was present at the meeting as well, just for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. Did I leave you out? Yep. I sure did. Sorry, my apologies.
Remember the glamping?
Yeah, the glamping was what got us all.
I learned a new word myself.
Yeah, we know. Glamping is with toilets and air conditioning and a whole bunch of other things.
Policy Committee meeting.
We did not have
one. That's what I thought. Thank you.
And we will not have one this month either.
Correct. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are determined to be non-controversial. However, a planning commissioner can pull any item for discussion. There are 2 items for consideration: minutes to the December 3rd, 2025 regular meeting and a resolution of appreciation. Would anybody like to pull an item?
I'd like to pull the minutes, number 1.
Okay. And I would like to pull number 2. So we don't have a consent agenda. And Mr. Everson, I'll leave it to you.
I would like to amend the minutes. The staff has put together verbiage that I can agree on, and on page 12 of the minutes, it'd be the second paragraph from the bottom, and the new verbiage would state, Mr. Trant stated that the applicant should be willing to make a change to the properties to commit to one of the SSCs and explained that the high density of proposed development is a result of trying to meet all county requirements. I read your inflection point before I read the minutes, and I later on in the meeting, if I could talk briefly about what you wrote. And this is one of the reasons I wanted it in here, because I think it's an important point that he made.
Any objections to Mr. Everson's? If not, may I have a motion to approve the December 3rd minutes as amended?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Will you need that verbiage, or do you?
She sent the
Oh,
verbiage
you
to me.
already have it, okay.
Yeah, she has.
Great, thank you. Item number 2 is resolution of appreciation. I hate having resolutions of appreciation in the consent agenda. They deserve more than that, I think, and that's particularly true in this case. Mr. Scott May, this is your last meeting. You've been a great help to me personally and to the citizens of James City County, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
I'd appreciate a motion to approve the following resolution. Whereas Mr. May has served as the citizens of James City County as a member of its Planning Commission from January 2024 to January 2026, and whereas Mr. May served on the Development Review Committee, and whereas during Mr. May's service, the Planning Commission reviewed substantive updates of the zoning ordinance and the subdivision ordinance and considered numerous legislative development cases. And whereas Mr. May was a graduate of the Virginia Certified Planning Commissioners Program, now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Commission of James City County, Virginia does hereby extend its sincere appreciation to Mr. Scott May. Be it further resolved that the Planning Commission wishes to express its gratitude to Mr. Scott May for his time of dedicated service to the citizens of James City County. I would just like to add that Scott was inserted midterm to cover for somebody who had to leave the Planning Commission, despite the fact that you already serve on the Wetlands Board and the Chesapeake Bay Board. So it does yeoman's duty. So may I please have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution of appreciation for Mr. Scott May.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
You get a gold watch with that, too.
But can I say something first, Mr.
Sure.
Chair? Just want to say it's been a great honor to serve with you guys on the Planning Commission. It's been an honor, and working with county staff, you guys have been great. Susan and everyone else has been great. So thank you so much for your service to the county.
Here.
We'll move on to public hearings, the first of which is case number Ordinance 25-0005, amendments to the zoning ordinance regarding equine stalking rate modification. Ms. Probst.
Good afternoon, evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Commission. An initiating resolution was passed by the Planning Commission on July 2nd, 2025 to consider amendments to address equine stalking rates. This topic was discussed at the September 11th and November 13th Policy Committee meetings. As a quick overview, equines or horses are allowed in A1, R4, R6, R8, and PL zoning districts. Currently, however, our current code has one district where equine stalking rates apply. Currently in the A1 zoning district, there is a limitation of 7 horses per acre. The R8 zoning district includes a limit of 50 horses per horse or pony farm, which is by right, or 50 horses per, more than 50 horses per horse or pony farm, or more than 50 horses per commercial operation by SUP. All other districts do not can include any by right, or I apologize. All other districts do not include either per acre rates or total farm limitations. In 2019, the Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District completed a survey of equine activity in 3 James City County sub-watersheds to determine the level of risk posed to watersheds by equine activities. The results indicated that there did not appear to be any properties that exceeded the allowable stalking rates or the farm limitations. However, they did note there was overgrazing and damage to the soil nonetheless. Staff undertook a brief survey of commercial equestrian facilities in the county and found that facilities manage their pastures through a variety of methods, including limiting grazing times, leasing additional pastures, providing dry lots, and supplementing forage. At the 2 policy committee meetings, the committee asked for a lower stocking rate, additional definitions, and a tiered process of approval based on the ability to meet criteria. The ordinance language before you allows a simplified approval process for non-commercial horse farms, a permit process for commercial horse farms, and a site plan process for properties that are unable to meet requirements. Requirements include a new stocking rate of 1.5 acres of usable land for the first horse and 1 acre for each additional horse. Manure stockpile locational requirements include setbacks from property lines, wells, and waterways, and prohibition from keeping manure in resource protection areas, special flood hazard districts, and on steep slopes. Staff is here to answer any questions you may have, and the Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District is also here.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Polster?
Just for clarification, in terms of the impact that this ordinance would have for existing horse farms or commercial horse farms, could you explain the term grandfathering and the implications of nonconformance?
So the existing farms and horse operations would be able to continue as they currently exist. There wouldn't be any impacts to those. So the people who would be impacted by this, or the facilities that would be impacted by this, are going to be new facilities. We don't have any language that specifically states that, but there is a section of the ordinance about nonconformities that speaks to this, and additional language could be included to say this specifically.
And that grandfathering would follow subsequent owners to the property, correct?
It would follow farms as long as they did not stop being used for 2 years, I believe.
If
So
the
it could
Jones
be,
people sold their farm to the Smith people, that grandfathering would convey to the Smith people.
yes, as long as the farm wasn't vacant or not operational for 2 years.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Anyone else?
Thank you very much. Any disclosures? Seeing none, we'll open a public hearing. We have several speakers' cards. This is an opportunity to speak to this subject. Individuals have 5 minutes. Please state your name and address. The first speaker is Ms. Nancy Williams.
Here to speak on behalf of Dreamcatchers, and I'd like to request 10 minutes, if that's possible, please.
It's fine. Thank you.
The address of Dreamcatchers is 10120 Fire Tower Road, Toano. Good evening. I'm Nancy Williams, the Executive Director of Dreamcatchers, a nonprofit therapeutic riding facility in Toano. There is no doubt that the Policy Committee has demonstrated good intentions with its draft ordinance amendment. I can think of no one in the local horse community who would consider keeping 7 horses per acre a reasonable number. Some may add it is unkind, but I understand addressing animal cruelty is not in the purview of the Planning Commission. However, with this proposed measure, the pendulum is swinging to an unwarranted extreme, imposing hardship on individuals and businesses and ultimately having a potential adverse impact on the county. There appears to be only one consideration posited by the Policy Committee, the recommendation of the Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District, prepared pursuant to the goal of the 2045 Comprehensive Plan mandate to explore ordinance amendments to incorporate recommendations of the district pertaining to stocking rates. However, the mandate was to explore and not to blindly follow. One must carefully review the recommendations of the district and the specific support provided, if any. Any resulting amendment should be well-reasoned, considering all impact on the county, not just the presumed benefits proffered by the district. In taking any action that may bring unforeseen negative consequences, the county should be confident that there is an existing or imminent threat to the environment that must be addressed to warrant those consequences. Otherwise, the county may be trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. It appears that the Policy Committee has relied entirely on a 2019 equine assessment that includes only Phase 1 of the 2 phases initially contemplated. Phase 1 consisted of a survey, and Phase 2 was to consist of an equine BMP pilot program that was apparently never conducted. The survey gathered information concerning horsekeeping in 3 watershed areas of the county, a small fraction of the overall area of the county. The goal of this phase was to provide project partners a better sense of the equine population in the project area, as well as the inherent need for conservation education and technical assistance. Despite the goal of this phase not being to advise on ordinance amendment, being only a survey gathering limited information of a fraction of the horse properties in the county, it closed with a recommendation to lower the equine stocking rate because, quote, 7 horses per acre is too high, end quote. It did not state what the stocking rate should be, but simply stated, without citing any support, that the industry standard stocking rate is a minimum of 2 acres for the first horse and 1 per additional horse. A further slide deck of a subsequent district report available on the county website goes as far as to propose a stocking rate, but again, without support for that number other than stating that it is consistent with other unidentified jurisdictions that have chosen to limit the horse stocking rate. In its reporting, the district has identified best management practices for pasture maintenance and manure control. But the district has completely failed to provide any data from this county demonstrating an actual existing water quality and erosion control problem. In fact, it appears that they did not even conduct any water testing tied to this specific recommendation. The radical reduction from 7 horses per acre to 1.5 acres for the first horse, 1 for each additional horse, has no basis in need and is in fact unreasonable. The proposed ordinance also does not distinguish between residential and agriculturally zoned property. The limit would now be the same across all zoning categories. The Policy Committee has provided you with the neighboring county limits that they took into consideration, though there is no evidence from those counties there's no evidence from those counties that they relied on any reliable supporting data. The variety in their limits suggests that these were more arbitrary than evidence-driven. I must also note that some of the information is incomplete in the memo provided to you. For example, New Kent County has no horse stocking limit for agriculturally zoned property. It is clear in at least one instance that the applicable county, similar to this one, is using their horse stocking rate as a protection for erosion and water quality. But there is no evidence to show that their current rate or the reduction to our rate is what is needed to control any purported erosion or water quality negative impact. It is a number taken out of context, and following other counties doing the same does not make it right. It's not the appropriate move at this time. The reality is that there are far too many variables to make a standard rule on equine stocking rates. They typically originated to address the grazing and exercise needs of the livestock. They are not tied to water quality. The American Horse Council's Regulatory Affairs team advised me that jurisdictions that latch onto the 1 acre per horse rule, essentially the proposed ordinance here, generally misunderstand the underlying agricultural data. The USDA, and specifically the Farm Service Agency, refer to this guideline, but with the intent that 1 horse equals 1 animal unit. When you are feeding livestock only on pasture, the typical stocking rate to support healthy livestock is 1 animal unit per acre and assumes that the animal lives on that acre 24/7. Note this is not about erosion control and water quality, but again, nutrition. But the Horse Council further advised me that you cannot stop there. For if you adopt this rate for horses, you are totally disregarding how the vast majority of all horses are fed. With hay and grain, they do not need 1 acre per horse. In actuality, most horses in our area are stabled and so are only on the pasture provided for less than half of a day. Some horses even wear grazing muzzles to limit their intake during that short period of time. And if you watch those horses, they will spend a good portion of that time resting, not eating, not wearing down the fields with their walking. You'll see plenty of them sleeping at dream catchers. In proposing such a restrictive rate, along with the micromanagement by non-horse people through the permitting process, James City County would become less desirable for horse owners and businesses. You will zone good people and their horses right out of the county. The horse industry is a major contributor to the economic health of Virginia and specifically this county. Why would the county want to encourage horse owners and businesses to go elsewhere? These are not people who are looking to have run-down properties and contaminate the water. It is in their best interest to maintain strong pastures and good water quality. And they don't need this proposed ordinance to incentivize or police them. An arbitrary limit and a time-consuming and expensive permitting process amounts to excessive, unreasonable regulation. Contrary to the beliefs of many, horse owners are not all affluent. With our current horses per acre, despite our excellent site plan and despite our excellent pasture maintenance and manure removal, I know dream catchers would find the site plan and permitting process a hardship if there is no grandfathering provision. Even if there is, though, our concern is for the entire horse community in our county and future residents and businesses. We rely on these people to support dream catchers, to help us survive. The local horse community provides us with horses, volunteers, donors, and retirement homes for our older horses. They also rescue horses in need. The district's report presentation on the website also suggests limiting the stocking rate of other livestock, and we assume from the 2045 comprehensive plan that the county will not stop with horses. Since there is no reasonable one-size-fits-all horse stocking rate due to varied property qualities and pasture and livestock management practices, it seems best to take a step back and focus on the actual goal of protecting water quality. First, let's identify an actual issue and where it exists. How many livestock are on those properties, if any, where water sampling shows an issue? Then, with actual data in hand, a more realistic alternative to reducing the stocking rate might be just to require manure management plans for properties supporting more than a certain number of livestock animal units per acre, and have that number be a more reasonable number. Presumably, review of a manure management plan would be a fraction of the $1,000 site plan review and permitting expense. I note that other zoning and building regulations address the other site plan components of the proposed ordinance, making those portions unnecessary. In closing, we ask that the Planning Commission reject the proposed ordinance in its entirety for A, failure to demonstrate an evidence-based need for change, and B, failure to provide a reasonable and not unduly burdensome equine stocking rate. We respectfully urge you to consider an alternative that better addresses any need that may be identified after gathering appropriate scientific data from the county horse properties. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. Next speaker is Ms. Melinda Odie.
Actually, Ms. said a mouthful that spoke pretty much everything what I'm about to say. I'll keep it a little bit shorter. I have been on Forge Road for 52 years. My family bought there. We've owned it. We've maintained it, farmed it for 52 years. The land itself is only going to give what the land's going to give. And we maintain it at a rate that keeps it surviving. And like Miss Nancy said, you cannot go off of a little bit of data that's inconclusive. The land speaks for itself. If it doesn't provide in times of drought or times of too much wet, we provide the animals with supplements of the hay and the grain. So they're not stripping the land, but we're constantly putting back into the land by nature's way. We're spreading the manure, we're putting it back in, we're grading, we're keeping it plush because we want our animals to flourish. We do all of this for the land and the animals. So, like she said, the watershed and contamination, me being there 52 years, there's been none that's been proven. The land is still providing for my horses today. So I think we should do away with this ordinance change because there's no evidence of proof of this measure that it's causing damage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Cheryl Matthews.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Matthews. I live at 2116 Forge Road and have been there for 20-some years. I represent myself as the landowner and our business, Stonehouse Stables Incorporated, which will have its 30th anniversary on May 1st of this year. Having been on this property. I have cared for it. I have consulted originally with the soil conservation people and developed a plan to spread the manure, fenced off the lake so that animals would not go in it. All of that without any help. And in fact, they had actually suggested that we do a composting that would have required that we build a building and put in so much labor that it would not work. So we do spread manure on the land and do so where it will not run off into our lake. We're very careful about that. So I think you'll find that most horse owners in the county are very careful about what they do with their animals and with their land. I do want to say that the lack of the number of people here demonstrates that you have not told us this was happening. The only reason that I know about it was that last week someone posted on Facebook your ordinances, and we went, what? We had to call Mr. Haldeman and say, where can we find this? I don't trust Facebook. So he sent it to us, and that's the first I knew of it. So for one thing, you're way ahead of the horse owners. They don't know what's happening. So you haven't heard from very many people. And if I'm the last speaker tonight, hopefully there are a few more, but you just haven't heard. There are so many people here. And Dreamcatchers really gave you the right kind of information. You're not, I just don't even understand what you're trying to solve. There isn't a problem that I'm aware of, and apparently you're not aware of a problem either because no problem has been actually cited. I just ask you to reconsider this. Everything that Dreamcatchers talked about in terms of stocking rate, how we supplement. I mean, I actually looked at how much our operation with 20-some horses last year spent over $60,000 on hay and grain. $60,000. We take care of our animals. We do not overgraze our pastures, and we don't need you to tell us how to do that. I don't think many of the gentlemen and ladies that I'm looking at are horse people. I think you need to talk to some horse people and get a little more practical about what's happening here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Dr. Steve Escobar.
Planning Commission members, I am Dr. Steve Escobar, a 35-year practicing veterinarian. Semi-retired at this point, running a large animal equine ambulatory practice that does health certifications and Coggins testing. I'm also the immediate past president of the Virginia Horse Council. More poignantly, I am a 5-year member of DCR's TAC committee on the Animal Waste Subcommittee. Wanted to give a little bit of background to the Planning Commission on how the state has dealt with this and how DCR has dealt with it. 5 years ago, there was a decision to add to our cost share programs equine facilities and allow them to partake in those cost share programs. When we did, we had a study done through DCR. I can't remember Marie's last name, Jim. I don't know if you remember her name. Maria Bode was a graduate student at the time, as an employee of DCR. Marie did a national study, an extensive study of stocking rates across the country, statewide, county-wide, and locality-wide. And what she found was there is no uniform set stocking rates because you can't do it effectively and with good scientific rationale or evidence base. She found it was all over the board. We also spoke with Dr. Robin Wright at Virginia Tech. She confirmed the same thing, that it's not a matter of the number of equines on a property, it's the matter of management and how it's handled. The decision by DCR at the time, and what we did was we decided to completely drop the concept of stocking rates and look instead at management. And so as you guys have, and as the commission has in the second phase, the concept of sacrifice areas such as loafing lots, the idea that we may stall horses and restrict pasture time, not only is more effective than considering the number of equines, but it also allows for better manure management. You're able to gather that manure and you're able to either compost or dispose of it much easier than having a horse 24/7 on a piece of property. I understand the commission's concern. I agree that an unrestricted, uncontrolled 7 horses per acre is inappropriate. But I think more importantly, I don't know if we put the horse before the cart. I apologize for the, but the idea is that perhaps phase 2 and the idea of looking at management strategies versus the first phase setting, and I will say an arbitrary stocking rate. That is the general, if you Google it, 1 horse per 2 acres, or 1.5 acres is proposed, and then an acre per horse afterwards is, if you don't look at management, may seem reasonable. But I can tell you that on a state level, we found that doing a stocking rate was just not the way to do it. It was more of a management rate. The second concern the Virginia Horse Council has in this is we have struggled for years to make sure that we maintain equines as a part of agriculture and as livestock and a part of agriculture. Anytime we see any kind of a carve out separating equines from other livestock animals creates heartburn and creates concern for us. The difference between a horse and a cow is the emotional connection to that animal by the owner, but not the rate of destruction, the rate of grazing, erosion control, and the rest. A horse and a cow, 1,000-pound animal unit do the same thing. Anytime we try to carve out those animals, carve them out of livestock, creates a problem and potentially creates a problem for the equine industry, which to the Commonwealth of Virginia provides $4.1 billion per year. So we do have some concern about doing any kind of carve-outs. I would rather see us maintain equines as agriculturally indicated with livestock, with cattle and other. I want the commission to please be aware that on the state level, we decided that we were not going to use stocking rates whatsoever, and it concerns us a bit that the first step is to create a stocking rate. I wanted to make sure that the commission was aware of that and perhaps look more at the state level versus making an arbitrary decision. Thank you.
Mr. Robert Lund.
My name's Bob Lund. I live at 24 Wynwood Way here in James City County. There's a lot of good things that have been said by the prior speakers, and many things that I agree with very strongly. I believe the focus of the proposed ordinance is to channel things to appropriate management. As the immediate prior speaker said, uncontrolled stocking, for instance, at a rate of 7, without appropriate management, has the potential to create problems. There's been remarks about manure and manure management, which is one of the important things that the ordinance addresses as a management method for stocking rates higher than the preferred stocking rate. The other issue with respect to the activity of large animals, such as horses, on the land is potential damage to the grass, the potential for creating erosion. So it's not just a question of manure and manure management, but it's also a question of maintaining the cover on the land to mitigate and avoid the risk of erosion. Just as with construction permits in development, the county requires silt fences to control erosion and also requires putting cover on the land as quickly as feasible. My perspective is that is the principal intent of the ordinance changes that I read and as I interpret them to channel things to the appropriate management. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the last speaker card we have. Would anybody else like to address the commission on this subject? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Open it for discussion, questions.
Well, I'd like to make a couple comments. 7 years ago, I was on the Stormwater SPAC Advisory Council, and we had a problem in the Ware Creek area for the bacteria count that was going on. And the Colonial Soil and Water Conservation District came to the staff and said, hey, why don't we do a study and see if we can find out what's going on and the number of horses, things of that sort for it. And at the time then, I suggested that we expand the area beyond Ware Creek and include the Diaskin, Forge Road, Mill Creek area. And the basis of that was a 2019 study done by the DCR guys, or the DEQ guys, and it earmarked the problem on Mill Creek and the other streams feeding into the upper Chickahominy with bacteria. And so it's always been a Clean Water Act about clean water. And there was another study done by the VIMS folks for the Corps of Engineers on the upper Chickahominy. And Molly Mitchell, Dr. Molly Mitchell is the one that did that one. And she actually went in there and all the different stream things identified what animals were contributing to the bacteria in the water. And as a matter of fact, I had lunch with a guy today that lives up on the upper Chickahominy. And when he started talking about this, he says, you know which animals actually contributed the most? I looked at him and I said, geese for it. And so in that analysis that was done for the bacteria on Mill Creek and in those areas, cattle, horses, deer, turkeys, and geese. And so the issue was that this TMDL, which is a total maximum daily output, that the county has to figure out how to fix that. It has one for Ware Creek, it has one for the Diaskin, Upper Chickahominy, and for the Powhatan. In some cases, I don't know how we solve this, because for me, I live on the Powhatan, and it's deer. And outside of sterilizing or doing something like that, you really have a hard time trying to contain that population. I'm not sure that the horse equine piece is going to solve all of the problems for Mill Creek, but I know it's a step in the right direction. And so there is evidence as to why this is a Clean Water Act and why the county first got into this thing 6 years ago. The gentleman talked about being on the horse tack up there, and when Jim Wallace ended up going to one of those meetings 6 or 7 years ago, might have been Robin, and they told him that the stocking rate for James City County was 11 horses. They laughed at him because it was a ridiculous amount for it. And so since that time frame, I've looked at other counties besides the neighboring ones, Buckingham, Fairfax, and a couple others. And though the stocking rate varies, but it's usually in the 1 or 2, the key piece of this thing was the management functions that the gentleman talked about. And so in this process, the SPAC ended up taking a field trip out to dream catchers. And that became my model. And so I didn't know what the hell a sacrifice lot was until I saw one out there and how it was there. And so the idea is in the wintertime, when you got a lot of rain or whatever and you don't want to beat up the pastures, they take the horses out for exercising in that sacrifice lot that they have out there, as well as dream catcher composts, as opposed to spreading it, which is another thing you can do, which is why you get a license to do it and verify. But the idea was that they make money off it by selling the compost to try to finance the thing. So, that trip out there was an opportunity for me to try to understand from what some folks, and my DCR friend says, is a premier example of a horse farm, which is yours, ma'am, at Dream Catchers. And so the issue that I think we can probably agree upon is that the management functions that are laid out in the ordinance are pretty well on spot with what the DCR is recommending and what the Colonial Soil Water Conservation folks. I think that the issue comes down to when we were juggling with this, I know Jay will remember this, is that I didn't think we should put this thing through a special use permit process and drag you through a permitting and a long thing at your expense. And so we were trying to look at an administrative thing, which our zoning person came up with, so that you could have people come in. Because when we took a look at this, we actually went out and tried to figure out how many horse stables there were in the county. And Sarah ended up talking to them and trying to get an idea of what was going on there. And so the idea of having more than 20 horses works because they aren't grazing, they're being fed. As you heard, lady was spending $60,000 for it. So the way we've, I think, worked the under 20 horses and over 20 horses type issue has more of a focus on the management as opposed to the number of horses. Because one of the things that Sarah reminded us of is that none of us are horse people, and she is. And she was one of our advisors on this thing to kind of keep us steered in the right direction in terms of that. I think, Jay, you'll agree to that.
I will.
So I'm kind of stuck on this, the idea that, okay, if it's not 1 to 5, it certainly can't be 11. And it certainly can't be 7. And so maybe the number isn't a number, but it has to do with the management functions that we've laid out there. And I haven't heard anybody object to that. As a matter of fact, what I've been hearing is an affirmation of that from you all. So there is a problem. It's called clean water. It's documented. I think we agree that it's not 11, it's not maybe 7, but the management is the point. And so maybe what we need to do is take this back to the staff, ask for some input and comments on the management piece in those 2 categories, and then maybe go from there. I mean, that's kind of where I'm standing right now, because I don't want to do something dumb that's going to impact something. But on the other hand, I want to make sure that it's about clean water and taking care of the land. So that's kind of where I am.
Mr. Everson.
I think we're going to agree here.
I know this is the second time. Second time.
I agree. As the chair of the policy committee, I must apologize that of not getting input from people who are in the horse community and only from the soil and water conservation folks. The other thing that I think we may want to consider, it didn't occur to me that this should be, I guess, under agriculture, I think the good doctor said, rather than a separate, separated from that. And I think that may be something we ought to consider.
I agree. It's something that we want to stay and stack with the state on that piece, and I think for good reasons on that.
It hadn't occurred to me at all.
Right.
And so I agree with Frank that that.
You got any notes of this?
Oh, good, because I let the record show that I agree with Frank that there's stuff that we need to do and put it back for review or, I guess, a future board meeting, commission meeting, or a future policy
I think it
committee.
needs to go back to the policy committee,
Okay,
because
good.
if we want input from some of the other folks that have some ideas about the management functions that we've talked about, let us get their input, because I don't think they're going to have a problem with it, but we need to know.
So we should probably notify them when we're going to discuss this so that they could appear.
Right. So, and by the way, the policy committee meetings that we're talking about where we have these discussions are always open to the public. And so it's an opportunity with it that if you can, we have your names and addresses, and Sarah can catch it at the end here so that we can keep you informed of that when we come back up, if that's okay. So I'd like to make a motion that we table Ordinance 25005, send it back to the policy committee for review along the lines that we've talked about. That's kind of the way I am right now.
I'm in support of that, but I just want to make one comment. It's, I got to say, when you have people show up for a public hearing on something like this, they provide information, and it never occurred to me, because I don't know a horse, and never intend to, but for those who came out, I personally really appreciate it, because it gave a new perspective to this whole horse thing, because I was skeptical from the beginning, but anyway, that's all.
Ms. Campbell pegged me perfectly. I don't know a horse from a mule. But I really respect the people who manage horse farms. I think the agricultural economy, the rural economy in James City County is extremely important, not just for the economy, but for the rural character of the county, and I don't want to do anything to damage it. I am pretty convinced, well, I think there's plenty of evidence that the degradation of the Chesapeake Bay, one of the major inputs to that is agricultural pollution. And not just animal waste, but chemical waste as well. And so that's what got my attention when we started talking about this. But I have to admit, I've learned a lot tonight. Starting from zero, I learned a good deal in these policy committee meetings. I've learned a good deal more tonight. And I certainly support the idea that we have more work to do, and we'll go back and do it. And we also need to work a little harder on informing people of what we're up to. So that's my 2 cents.
Second? Second, Frank's motion.
Just all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate that.
Yeah, the public meeting was closed, or the public hearing was closed, so we'll have another public hearing on this subject. Thank you all, pardon me, thank you all for coming. The next public hearing is SUP 25-0012, 6015 Richmond Road, Forest Heights Senior Independent Living Facility. Ms. Jakora.
I'd like to wait a moment while they exit.
Sure.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Give it another minute.
Okay,
that's fine.
I will do. Apologies. This is a special use permit application by Doug Harbin on behalf of Wayne Harbin Builder, Inc. On the subject property 6015 Richmond Road. The special use permit is a request to allow for a senior independent living facility. This request was previously approved by the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors. However, that special use permit became void as the construction did not commence within the time allotted in the conditions. So to zoom in on the property, here is Richmond Road out front. The living facility is contemplated right here, outlined in red. The remainder of the property is actually currently in land disturbing phase for construction of townhomes, which are allowed and continuing. So this special use permit is just related to the senior living facility here outlined in red. As noted, it was previously approved under a prior SUP, and it was also part of a previous county-initiated rezoning. That rezoning is still in effect. There are proffered conditions which do require that the 50 units for this senior independent living facility would be affordable to the 30 to 60% average median income individuals. So that proffer is still in effect and would be required of these if this SUP is approved. Because it was previously approved and we find that there are no changes related to the policy of the county, that we find this still in favor and recommend that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the board. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms.? You know, it's been 6 years since this was approved. Why the delay, do you know, or would the?
Would encourage that question be directed to the applicant.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Chase Grog with Land Tech Resources Incorporated, located at 20.
Chase, just 1 second. We haven't opened the public hearing yet. I just had that one question.
It's part of my I can answer as part of the speech. I have a section about why it's taken so long. The short answer for you right now is that state law allowed for the SUP to continue until July of last year. With COVID extensions to cases, it didn't actually expire until July of last year.
Be a whole lot more expensive now than it was 6 years ago, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Don't go too far away, but any disclosures by the Planning Commission? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing and take it away. Sorry to be so procedural, but
You're fine. Chase Grog with Land Tech Resources, located at 205 Bullifonts Boulevard, Suite E in Williamsburg. I'm here this evening representing Wayne Harbin Builder regarding the proposed reapproval of the special use permit. Wayne, Brad, and Doug Harbin are also here tonight, and Doug will be addressing the commission as well. I've been involved with this project since 2017, working closely with Mr. Harbin, as it has been encouraging to see the progress already underway on the townhome portion of the development. As staff has noted, the proposed senior independent living facility was part of the county facilitated rezoning project approved in 2019. Since that time, the Harbins have advanced their portion of the project while also working with Bay Aging toward the development of the senior living component. As we all know, the onset of COVID in early 2020 significantly slowed construction activity and led to substantial increases in material costs, particularly impacting projects intended to remain affordable. The proposed 50 units have also been proffered to be 100% affordable through the county's Housing Opportunity Program. While state legislation did extend the approval period of this special use permit, it ultimately expired in July of last year. The effects of COVID, changing funding requirements, the new administration have delayed the availability of financing for Bay Aging. Mr. Alan Walker with Bay Aging is present this evening and will speak further to those efforts following my remarks. Turning to the submitted master plan, it remains consistent with the overall layout of the previously approved plan. The only revisions made were to better reflect the final configuration of the townhomes currently under construction and the proposed senior living facility layout. The property lies within the Powhatan Creek watershed and is subject to special stormwater management requirements. Under the tentative site plan, stormwater will be managed through 2 on-site bioretention basins, which will ultimately connect via piping beneath Forest Heights Road to the originally master planned BMP. Maintenance of that BMP will be shared between the 2 HOAs. Additionally, the northern portion of the site will drain to a bioretention facility that has already been constructed as part of the townhome development. Prior to this meeting, Mr. Polster raised a couple of questions that I would like to address for the commission. These topics were discussed during the 2019 approval process and remain relevant today. The first relates to the proposed playground. When the original Forest Heights and Neighbors Drive redevelopment occurred, HOA participation was optional for existing residents. Although a playground was contemplated on 100 Forest Heights Road, it was never constructed. The area shown on our master plan will be maintained by a new HOA associated with the townhomes and senior living facility development, including the proposed parks and multi-use paths. The intent is for the playground to serve the new homes and senior living facility, with those residents bearing the associated maintenance and assurance responsibilities. There was also a question regarding access to Awada bus stops. There are currently 2 existing bus stops along Route 60 near the intersection with Forest Heights Drive. While shelters are not presently installed, staff has advised that these locations are included in the county's 5-year schedule for shelter construction. In closing, affordable, independent senior living remains a significant need within our community, and this project represents an important opportunity to help meet that need. With no substantive changes from the previously approved plan, the Harbins and I respectively request that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the special use permit to the Board of Supervisors. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have before I pass it off to Mr. Walker.
thank you. Any questions, Mr. Rugg? Nope, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I don't want to sit up here and waste your time going over exactly what Chase just said. I'm going to have to put him on the Bay Aging payroll. He did pretty good. My name is Alan Walker. I'm Assistant Director of Multifamily Housing Development for Bay Aging. For those of you who aren't familiar with Bay Aging, it was established in 1978 and is a regional nonprofit that supports older adults through housing, transportation, health services, and community-based programs. Bay Aging has a strong track record in affordable housing development, including Parker View, an age and income restricted community in James City County, developed in partnership with James City County and the Peninsula with Agency on Aging. I apologize. It's been a long day. Acquisition, to go into why it has taken so long, just briefly. Acquisition funding for the Forsyth project has been difficult to secure because it's rarely prioritized in grant making and is heavily influenced by shifting government policies and funding cycles. That being said, because of our partnerships and our strong relationships with the Williamsburg Health Foundation and the Peninsula Agency on Aging, Bay Aging is now in a position to have serious discussions with the property owner as we move forward on the project. So as of now, like, things are continuously moving forward to get this project up and rolling. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to ask or answer them.
Thank you. Any? Holster.
I know that inflation has set in since we first started this 8 years ago. On the 30 to 60% of the AMI, what is that rent going to mean?
Honestly, the project is in such an early phase at this point. We have not developed the rents or the building layout as of yet. So I can't give you like a complete rundown of what 60% AMI looks like or 30% AMI.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Harbin, I beg your pardon.
Thank y'all. Doug Harbin, Wayne Harbin Builder, 208 Landing Road, Seaford, Virginia. This has been a long project. It's been quite challenging, especially being a family-owned and run business. We're a small business in James City County. My father started this business in 1985. Y'all sit at these meetings and y'all see the big projects that come across your desk with all the national builders that have a lot more money than what we have. So we're just trying to keep a quality build. We're trying to get our little share of the pie in James City County. We've built a lot of custom homes. We've been in a lot of neighborhoods. You know, we as a company, we've always participated in a lot of the James City County. We were one of the ironbound redevelopment builders. I've worked with Vaughn, Marion, Payne, and you know, we feel that affordable housing in James City County is important, and that's one of the reasons that we started this project over 6 years ago, because we felt that that having the ability to get families and homes was important. And we felt that even though that we build homes from the very lowest levels, in fact, we just finished a house for James City County on Centerville Road. We still are active in the program and even bidding on some of the remodel stuff. So we had a lot that hit us after this got approved. You know, we had the COVID pandemic. OSB got up to $48 a sheet. Prices, availability of product. I mean, we basically shut us down. It's hard as we look back, we forget how sheltered everybody was during that time and what prices did. So, you know, it was really tough. We couldn't start a project in that kind of environment. I mean, just the prices were skyrocketed. You know, a lot of the HOP numbers that are given to us and the AMI numbers are income related. They're based on housing prices. They're based on a lot of different factors. So as they were, you know, as prices were rising, you know, these numbers for building weren't going up at the same rate. We've ended up in a more stable market, and soon as we saw building costs leveled out to a more stable market, we said, hey, we've got to get our townhomes started, and we have got those started. We've actually put the footings and foundations in for our model court for our first 5 townhomes. We're probably 90% done with all the streets and the development. Roads are in. We've been working with Bay Agent from day one. Joshua Jamerick, who is in here now, that he was with Bay Agent, stood up here and spoke to y'all over 6 years ago, and they have been part of this project from day one. This was referred to us by Marion Payne that they had done such a good job at Parker View, and that they would be a great partner for us. So if we remember early on, it was mixed use. So we were looking at doing storage units because we had to have a commercial aspect. So when the board a lot of people didn't like that idea, and what could we do in a project that was always a redevelopment project, which the Salvation Army was going to go there and just decided not to, what could we bring in to fit into the grand vision that the county had in this whole redevelopment was an independent senior living facility. So again, Bay Agent was part of this from day one. Funding, obviously through COVID, was very difficult. Change of administrations. They finally have got to the point where they feel like that they can get the funding, or are getting very close for the funding to get this project off the ground. Obviously, we ran out of time on our SUP in July because it did get extended by the General Assembly. So we ask if y'all would please let us finish our project. I think Bay Agent, they have already done a study, and there's a big demand for independent, lower income senior living housing. And I feel like it's going to be a great, a great asset to this community. And if y'all would please recommend approval so we can finish this project.
Thank you very much.
Is there any questions
Are
for
there-
the applicant?
Does anybody have any questions?
I do. I mean, first off, is I remember 8 years ago, and I talked to Marion Payne, and I said, get rid of the damn storage piece on that, because it forced you to try to build that first before you could build that. And of course, it's the money involved in trying to get things upset. So I was really thrilled to see the thing get approved 6 years ago. As just kind of a comment is, I recall a very dapper gentleman in a bow tie and a black shirt who stood up there and talked with you. And one of the things I think that caught me, and we'll probably hear from Mr. Billups later on, there were 2 things that the Planning Commission recommended to the board at the end of when it approved it. And the first one was the WADA bus stop, because it wasn't just the Forest Heights folks, it was the facilities that you were going to have to be able to do that. And Mr. Holt tells me that the first of the 5 WADA steps that they're going to put it on the west side. So that'll be the first one, and the other one to come in at some later date. So I take that as a win after 6 years to be able to actually see that there. The other one that we talked about, and this goes to my good friend Tim O'Connor, who was in the management business of properties on that, and he brought up a point that I took to heart, which is the park that was promised but never built for the Forest Heights folks, and then your park being there could cause conflict. And whether it will or not, I thought he had a point. So that's why we asked if there was a way that the Forest Heights folks could share that park. Now, I understand the HOA fees and all the rest of it, but I think it's really up to you to decide whether or not you allow those kids to come and play. I don't know if there's a financial issue associated with it, but it's still an asset I think makes sense. You've done a lot of business in the Forest Heights piece. You've built some great homes in that area. You and I both know what those roads are like and backing a truck up around that thing. So my hat's off to you finally being able to do that. My only ask is if there is a way that we can do that, I'd like to see that. Thank you, Mr. Harmon.
Comment. I don't own horses, know nothing about them, nor do I own a construction company, but I do remember trying to build a deck at the beginning of the pandemic and how much the prices were marked up. So I just appreciate the explanation for the delay. I'm sure that that was very interesting to navigate, but I appreciate it. And that's it.
Thank you. It was a tough time. I mean, it just availability of product and it's not the type of project that you want to start in those types of conditions. So as much as we wanted, much as we had a lot of money tied up in the land, so as much as we wanted to get started, it was a delay on our side. So we appreciate it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
We don't have any other speaker cards. Would anybody else like to address the commission on this subject? Seeing none? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address.
One 54. I've been living in Forest Heights for 35 years plus. When I first moved there, me, all seniors, okay? Dirt road. I maintain that road myself. I maintain that road for me and the seniors, okay? For what's going on now, love it. I have nothing to say negative about it at all. Nothing. In order for that road, paved road, to come through, I gave up property on my right side and left. Again, 149, 153, 154. Okay? No money exchange. None, not one dime. Okay? Back in the day, like I said, me, all seniors, you're talking about animals. I had plenty of deer, coyote, or whatever. I could talk to them better than I could talk to most of the humans that's living in my community today. Okay? Me and the seniors got along. Matter of fact, the seniors wanted to name the road after me because of what I'd done. Okay? But to make a long story short, everything, I agree with what you're doing, the independent living, love it, not a problem. My thing is the privacy for me. Okay, we know that, okay, the homes come up, but never 3 or 4 years. It won't be just for those people. It's going to be for someone else. They're going to bring, the kids, grandkids, or whatever, blah, blah, which is fine. But most time it brings crap also. Also, in my home, I've got a basement. The ground been disturbed quite a bit. I'm getting cracks now. My home is my home. And it's a decent home. Nice, clean yard, whatever. I keep it up. I've been raised that way. But to make a long story short, what I'm saying, even privacy, again, will there be, we talked about a buffer. I attended the last meeting with the first Doug. Good people. Mean what to say. I've talked to them.
Sir, just address the commission, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. My concern right now, as far as my privacy, my kids, my grandkids, so on and so forth, is there going to be a buffer? What type of buffer? What's going to separate my home from the others? If I want to visit, fine. But my property is my property. I'm at the very end. And right now, it's just a little small, whatever, tar paper, whatever, which not going to be there. Will there be a privacy fence to keep that property away from mine or whatever? Will it be, will I still have my privacy? Because right now, as that little thing deteriorates, you can walk from my house right to theirs or whatever. In the future, I'll be honest with you, after being there 30-some years, I don't know if I can stay. I'm looking right now for somewhere else. but I just need a little bit of privacy. Like I said, again, these guys, not a problem. They came to me. I hit a problem. I know Murray Payne, Keith Dunny, all that meeting when it first started was held in my house, along with all the seniors, my house. I got this project started in my house. Right now, today, and it haven't really got really going yet. Sometimes when I come home, I got to bow down to speak to, it used to be, maybe 12 homes between Neighbor Drive and Forest Heights. Now it's close to 50? I don't know half the people down there. I got to sometimes speak when at a hoodlum for peace, because I don't know, you might end up at my yard, I don't know. But privacy is what I need, privacy. Everything else is great. I'm all for seniors. I'm a senior myself. But just a little bit of privacy. If I'm going to be there, I need a little more privacy. A fence or something, barrier, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Mr. Grogg? We don't usually do this, but I'll let it go.
I appreciate it. I just want to bring some context. So Mr. Billup's property is really not in the area of where we're discussing. We appreciate his concerns. The Harbins have worked with him through some encroachment, so they can further that conversation. I just want to bring in some context for what we're discussing this evening is the senior living facility. The senior living facility in the front. And his is kind of out of the purview of what I would say we're discussing this evening, but we can definitely, they've been in contact with Mr. Billups and can definitely work with him.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No other speakers. Will close the public hearing. Open it for discussion or a motion.
I would just say it was a great project the first time. I don't think that has changed at all. It's a need that everybody up here recognizes is so needed here in James City. So for me at least, I'm in total support of it and would support any motion.
Any other comments or a motion?
I'll make the motion that the Planning Commission recommend to the Board of Supervisors approval of SUP 25-0012, 6015 Richmond Road, Forest Heights Senior Independent Living Facility. And with the conditions.
Would you please call the vote?
Mr. Polster?
Aye.
Mr. Rogers?
Aye.
Mr. Everson?
Aye.
Mr. May?
Aye.
Dr. Haskins?
Aye.
Mr. Haldeman?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Planning Director's report?
Well, we filled the two positions to speak at the, or give the Planning Commission summary at the Board of Supervisors. So that's one thing I wanted to accomplish. Other than that, I just wanted to thank Mr. May for his service, and we really enjoyed working with you, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Planning Commission discussions and such. Board of Supervisor coverage for January 13th at 5 p.m. Mr. Everson. The Policy Committee meeting for Thursday, January 8th, as you mentioned, is canceled. And the Development Review Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, January 21st at 4 p.m. And that's it. I'll entertain a motion to, not so fast.
I read your inflection. Like I said before, I had read the minutes. And, excuse me, one of the reasons I wanted to have Tim Trant's comments in there is because you had pointed out in the early 70s, economically homogeneous, so on and so forth. And it had occurred to me that that there was, at our Cardinal Ridge discussion, there was concern, at least on your part, about the density. And it also occurred to me that the reason, if you want to have a more diverse economic community, if you will, different classes of folks, you have to have high density for the people who, who would qualify or would need to have moderate quality housing and moderate prices, or attainable housing, or affordable housing, or workforce housing, whatever you want to call it. You can't have that without higher density. And one of the things that he pointed out is that we have a lot of regulatory conditions that these developments have to have. From recreation, they're going to have a pool. They have to have, well, in that case, mixed use and some public lands and all this, that, and the other thing, and that all drives the cost up. In order to have a community that is not homogeneous economically, then we have to have government regulations that make that possible. And I just yesterday finished reading a book about Levitt towns in Long Island, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Paris, and
I grew up in one.
well, God bless you, in Paris and outside of San Juan. And one of the things that came through for that, the reason Mr. Levitt could build these houses that people at that time, working class and, lower middle class affordable housing, was because the government had made it easier for them to develop this property, particularly in France, where the national government, did away with some of their requirements in architecture, et cetera. And when I read this, I said, well, the community, what we've done is with 1 to 20, a whole bunch of the county now is left just for the economically higher classes. And the only ones that are attainable, workforce, or et cetera, are really government sponsored, such as Clark Lane, and we have this here, which is part of the government. We have the one that's sitting out there by Oakland. Was it Oakland? Oakland, yeah, that's all. Yeah, tax. They've got some tax benefits there. We've got government incentives. In order to have a diverse community, you have to have government incentives to do this. Now, I noticed you pointed out in here about density bonuses, but if you don't have high density, you cannot get this price down. And as far as additional kids coming, with the price point and what we've done, with the kind of housing that comes here because of all these requirements, is they have to have a higher price. So people like my 3 kids, don't live here because they can't afford here. And I had a daughter who lived in Charlottesville and ended up buying a house in Waynesboro because they just could not afford Albemarle County, which is similar to here, used for our school system, which is why our schools are not getting overrun, because people coming here, they've got the money. Now, in the Levitt situation, later in his life, he picked up on the fact that people from New York were moving to Florida. Now, the program, his whole thing fell apart in Orlando. But what happened was he realized that they could sell their houses on Long Island and pay cash for a much better house in Florida. And the point I'm making is that that the stuff that you're suggesting here, in fact, is going to make this community even more focused on upper income levels and make it, and the diversity of class is not going to happen. And that's my only comment, and I'm sure you're not surprised I'm saying this.
Neither surprised or unsurprised. Any other comments or?
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you for your time on that one.